To be a scapegoat is to take the blame for others. Does this definition fit Nick Nurse? We'll talk about it today on Hoop Talks. Welcome back, you guys. I'm Noor Zainab. Next to Justin Pooni, Jelani Goodridge-Reid, and the Raptors are back today on Monday. They actually won against the Hornets on Sunday. On Friday, they lost to Philly. We'll talk about the Raptors having a pretty big game on Sunday, how Fred VanVleet came through and set franchise records. But something else caught my eye before the game on Friday and actually took the Twitter world, the Raptors world, the Toronto world by storm. Nick Nurse was asked right before the game where his headspace is at, how we feel about the trade deadline, and he was actually pretty raw in his answers, and this is what he had to say.
I think when the season gets done, we'll evaluate everything, and even personally, like, I'm going to take a few weeks to see where I'm at, like you said, where's my head at, and just see how the relationship with the organization is and everything. It's been 10 years for me now, which is a pretty good run.
This is a tight-lipped organization that tries its best not to leak any dirty laundry, not talk about the locker room whatsoever. So this is kind of a pretty big thing coming from Nick Nurse. Why would he publicize that, Jelani?
I don't know, to be honest with you. Right before playoff time, I'm kind of confused, right? This is the time where you don't want any rumors, any buzz off court, right? And you don't want the locker room to be affected by anything that you say at this time of year. And from the head coach himself, I mean, now I don't know if it's going to cause any problems in terms of relationships that he has with his players or even the front office, because, they might be like caught off guard by this, right? By him saying this publicly. So I am kind of confused why this was aired out right now, right? Because the season's about to finish, right? They just clinched the play-in spot. So yeah, I'm kind of confused right now. I'm not gonna lie.
The more and more I think about it, the more and more you can put the pieces together to this puzzle, and you got to realize that Nick Nurse's contract is up after next season, right? Which in coaching terms means that this is basically his last year on his contract, right? Because they're either gonna extend him or they're gonna move on and kind of let him go, because you never want to bring a coach in with 1 year left on their deal. They're kind of just like a lame duck, and the question's just gonna go through the whole season. So I think Nick Nurse is sending a message to the front office right now, like, you know what, I could go elsewhere unless you don't meet my contractual demands. He is, I think, reportedly making $8 million a year as the coach of the Toronto Raptors, which is in the top 10 of NBA coaches, but he might want to, get to that top 5 level, make a little bit more money. So is it mind games by Nick Nurse to the front office and Masai being like, hey, look, I can go to Houston and coach a young team. I can go here. My services are wanted all across the NBA. So you better, meet my demands, maybe, and then go from there. But also, this team has fall short of expectations this year, right?
Yes.
And he's catching a lot of heat for that. And again, he might feel like I don't have the right, because we've heard him say this before. See, sometimes he feels that they don't have the right pieces to compete.
I think that they don't.
They don't. And so he might see that as well. Like, you haven't given me the right pieces to compete in the Eastern Conference. So you know what? I might take a step back and want to assess my options too. So a whole lot of mind games going on with the Toronto Raptors.
It's interesting you say that he might be sending a message, because the question itself was actually asked by an international media, so the American media. It wasn't just the Toronto beat writers. It was actually ESPN asking the question. So you're wondering, is he sending a message to the rest of the league as well that, hey, I might be up for grabs a little bit. I might have some thinking to do. But so on Sunday, before the game against the Hornets, he was actually asked by Lindsey Dunn a follow-up question, because you can't say something like that and not be expected to have a little bit of retort back from the reporters. So this is what he had to say to Lindsey Dunn.
That's exactly why I made it, was to not have to answer that question every game, because I got it about 3 games in a row. So let's move on and talk about tonight and this team and this season, please. Thank you.
He said, please, thank you. Justin, did Masai make that call?
I don't know if Masai made the call, but there definitely was a message sent to him. Yo, what are you doing, man? Like, they're in the middle, of a play-in rail. They clinched a play-in spot now, but they're in the most important time of the season right now. And for him to come out and talk about his status with the franchise and stuff like that, it's not the right look. And now it's just created a firestorm of rumors, right? We've talked about Ime Udoka potentially coming to Toronto the other day, and it's not going to go anywhere now. And just, yes, it might be a bit of a pause on it until the season ends, but in a week or two, the season might be over, and then all these questions and are going to be even more rampant. Masai's going to have to talk about it. So, yes, I'm sure Masai or Bobby or somebody said to Nick Nurse, yo, you can't talk about that.
To me, this shows a little bit of dysfunction in the locker room, maybe even the front office. And we've been talking about this, I feel like, since October, where we noticed that this team maybe is just not gelling. They don't like each other. And it was interesting because, again, on Sunday, when they played against the Hornets, Fred VanVleet had a massive game. He became the first Raptors player in franchise history to record 20 points and 20 downs in the same game, became the second undrafted player in the NBA to have that stat line, and joined Wilt as the only other player to hold single game points and assists as the record for the same franchise. And you would think, like, big day for him. He broke records for Raptors. He's also an undrafted player. It comes a lot for him, but the locker room reacted a little bit coldly for my liking.
I was thinking about open gym the whole time.
Ready? Stay here real quick. Hey, this is the game ball. Franchise record. Franchise. A lot of good point guards playing Toronto. It's a hell of a mark. Ready?
It might not seem like a lot, but gone are the times that, do you remember where Kyle Lowry used to enter when the guys are being announced before the game starts and they're all sitting there clapping each other, the vibes are there, beloved is being called, the captions are off the charts, and now I just don't see that same camaraderie. Have they lost the locker room, John?
I don't think so. I think from that clip you could still hear them. I think they were hyped for him. I just think they were tired.
Shout out to Fred for keeping the AirPods rocked in. Yeah, he had the AirPods in.
I know. I saw that. But I think it was fine, right? I think it was a nice clap, a nice little ovation for him. But overall, yeah, this season we've been talking about how the locker room has been, and I think it's mostly because of those rumors that were earlier on in the year. Gary Trent, OG, Fred, do we trade him? Do we not? And now with this Nick Nurse stuff, so all year it's been a tough year, and I think the rumors have really affected the locker room.
I think it's reading a little bit too much into it, but again.
I
It was a game against Charlotte, and again, I think if this team had a better season and the morale was higher, right, then you would probably see more of a more lit, reaction. But look, they're 39 and 39.
I feel like that's a big reason for why the team isn't reacting though, because if it's kind of the vice versa effect where they stop being friends together and that trickle on the court as opposed to not working on the court and now they're not friends because of that afterwards. So I do wonder at some point if there's going to be a leadership change, whether that's going to be coaching, whether that be a core, because it definitely isn't the same team that we know it to be. And the Raptors have just kind of lost their vibes despite even getting some wins together. But they take on the Hornets again tomorrow. Celtics twice later this week. Let's see how they can do and if we can push for that 8th seed. This has been Hoop Talks.